Because I had a vision, I managed the little funds that were coming. In a while, I was able to acquire 1 or 2 properties, and then I'll sell this property and acquire more, sell and acquire, sell and acquire. At some point, my property portfolio grew. We want to build 1,000 quality houses by 2030. We are currently working on acquiring some lands for a gated community. In as much as your goals should excite you, should scare you a bit, so that you don't rest until you achieve them.
For the past year on this channel, I've shared countless stories of individuals overcoming challenges to achieve success. Today, we're going to take a look at a story that will leave you inspired and uplifted. The story of a man who defied all odds and emerged as a successful real estate entrepreneur in the Gambia. Prepare to witness the power of the human spirit and the remarkable achievements that can be accomplished when one follows their dreams. Make sure to watch this video all the way to the end to discover the secret behind this guy's remarkable success, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay connected for more inspiring stories like this.
Hello everyone, my name is Boubacar Jaite. I'm the CEO of Kerr Finder.
He studied electrical engineering.
Electrical and electronics engineering.
Yeah, so you studied that and now you are in real estate.
Yeah.
And these two are totally unrelated. What you studied and what you're doing right now, two different things. Yeah. How did you end up in this real estate?
When I was young, I wanted to be a doctor. This is why I studied science. And upon graduation, I had a scholarship opportunity. It was in India. But among the list of courses that were offered, there were only engineering courses and plus other commerce courses. I chose electrical engineering among the list that was available at the time. During the course of my studies, almost midway, because my second semester, I came across the concept of entrepreneurship, and it was really appealing to me to see young people solving the problems of their society through entrepreneurship. And at the time, I had a friend called Ayman. He was studying masters in international business and marketing. He was really good in business, so he would explain to me why Coca-Cola was so successful and why Nokia suddenly went out of the market, a business after gaining a sizable market share. So at some point, I realized I wanted to do business. So even though I was studying electrical and electronics engineering, I was also reading some business books. I finally settled down for real estate when I read the famous Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a book on finance, but most of the examples cited in the book were real estate related. So I naturally fall in love with real estate and started doing some research on the real estate industry in the Gambia. Wrote a business plan, and I started contacting the few real estate that were in the market here. Well, I was in India.
You were in India?
Yeah.
When he came back from his studies, he started working for NAWEC, Gambia's national electricity and water company, and he was stationed at the Kotu power station as an engineer. And despite his demanding full-time job, he was also working as a real estate agent on the side.
Before I was hired by NAWEC, I started meeting the partners that I formed while I was in India. I met them, we discussed some, because I didn't have any property at the time. So I actually proposed to act as agents to some of these companies.
Some of the real estate
companies that were existing at the time, namely Global Properties, you have Sky High then, and then Universal. Then there were a few real estate companies that were actually in operation. Subsequently, I joined NAWEC as well. So I was trying to run my real estate business at the same time, working for NAWEC, but it wasn't easy. Because, I didn't have experience in the real estate industry. I didn't have capital. I did not have the required connection, no client base. And to top it all, I was not there to make it happen. So I was working at NAWEC. I just took some staff to work for me at my office and got a utility car for them with the help of my sister, of course, Kaba in the UK. At some point, I realized it wasn't working. I was using my salary at NAWEC to service my staff, even though I didn't want to give in, because it's not easy accepting failure, people seeing you to fail. But eventually I had to give in. So I closed my office, and then...
While you were working, so you continued working?
Then I was working at NAWEC. I closed my office, and quit Kerr Finder. So after some time, I realized that for Kerr Finder to really work, I have to quit my job and focus on building it. Just before I quit, I worked on setting up a small kiosk, small restaurant at the Gambia College where we used to sell sandwiches and lunch, breakfast for basically the university and the college students.
That kiosk was basically to
just generate funds for me for my keep up while I focus on building Kerr Finder. Because when I went back into the market, this time I didn't take any office. I just went into the streets of Senegambia, working with other agents, trying to rent a property or sell a property for a commission. So my kiosk was really taking care of my basic needs at the time. People could not really understand why I was in the streets working for commission. Yeah, exactly.
An engineer working in Narek, now you're in the streets.
Yeah, working for, but I had a vision. I had a vision, definitely. So after just a short while, I was able to gain experience in the industry, build required connection, had a client base. Money naturally starts flowing in. Because I had a vision, I managed the little funds that were coming. In a while, I was able to acquire 1 or 2 properties, and then I'll sell this property and acquire more, sell and acquire, sell and acquire. At some point, my property portfolio grew. I realized in order to be able to manage that transaction, I needed to set up an administration to manage those transactions. Then I registered Chit Finder as a company and set up an administration. I started working as a company from then. Alhamdulillah, we had some major transformation from that time also to now, because by the end of 2018, we were able to sell over 1,000 landed properties in various locations in the country.
In addition to his successful land sales, he has expanded his horizons to property development. He's building bungalows in 3 different locations: Sukuta, Jabang, and Bufut. His meticulous attention to detail ensures that each aspect of the construction process, from the layout to the finishing touches, meets the highest standard of quality and craftsmanship.
I had a normal childhood. My father was a businessman. He sells fabrics. And my mother was mainly a housewife, but she does some side hustles. I spent my entire childhood helping her sell various items: ice block, wonjo, Nana, and the list continues. And I believe to some extent this is what had prepared me later in life when I wanted to be an entrepreneur, because pretty much I was comfortable selling almost anything.
I feel like there's enough land for every Gambian here,
Yeah.
Like, why is it so expensive?
But we're concentrating in a limited area. Everybody wants to live around almost the same area. This is why I believe it's a bit expensive around this end.
Someone tweet that, like someone posted you gave your employees, gave them land.
Yeah, that's during the last part of the Ramadan. That is my junior staff, each of them a plot of land. These are the very people that get us where we are now. Without them, it would be very difficult, or if not impossible, to get to anywhere. If you have staff that is going the extra mile to ensure that the company grows, I think you should have their personal goals as a priority. I don't see this as a gift. This is something that they deserve. It's all possible because of them. I have seen people solving the problems of their society through this kind of ventures. So I was also interested in solving the housing deficit of the country. Gambia has a housing deficit of over 128,000 units. I realized that in our efforts in solving the housing problem, we were only catering for half of the problem, because we were only selling houses, lots of land. And often our clients would complain facing a lot of difficulties in building their desired houses on the landed properties that we sold to them. For some reason, sometimes they get scammed by unscrupulous contractors. Some of them would complain that the houses that they've built for them are poorly built, and sometimes family members would misuse their funds. So those are, and for some people, they cannot just do it because they are in abroad. So obviously, the hassle of managing a project while here is something of its own. Putting all this together, we realize in order to be efficient at contributing our quotas, we need to scale up. We need to come up. So we went and equipped ourselves. It took some time with the required construction expertise to be able to provide a whole package that is to sell them land, build it for them and everything.
So you sell the land, you build it and manage it?
Yeah, just few blocks away, I sold a house to somebody, and now we're managing his investment. He's earning a yearly revenue of 300,000. Honestly, we've since prided ourselves with, providing very good services, quality houses, state-of-the-art designs. We don't just build houses, we build experiences.
So what do you consider to be the key factors that has contributed to your success as an entrepreneur?
Persistence. If I want something, I don't rest until I get what I wanted. Because I believe success disguises itself in the form of a failure. If you fail and fail and fail, this is a sign that you're getting closer and closer and closer to succeeding. If you're the type that would give in after a few attempts, then entrepreneurship is not for you. One of the statements I hate most is when I ask something to be done and you're telling me it's not possible just because it's hard to achieve. So yes, persistence is something that I believe helped me get where I am. The second I would say would be attention to detail. If you do what every other person does, I believe you would get what every other person gets. So if you want an outstanding result, you should be willing to put in what others would not put in. It wasn't by chance that our houses look unique. It wasn't by chance that customers feel at ease working with us. It was intentional. Every time we build a house, it is better than the previous one because we make sure we learn from every project that we do. When I first came into the industry also, I studied my predecessors, and I closely studied their strengths, what made them outstanding above others, and what they could have done better also to grow. I was able to learn from some of their strengths, do things that they were not doing as much. I'm explaining some changes that needs to be done here. Come closer. You can grab it. I said this should have a bar here.
So now, for something like this,
Yes.
to build something like this from start, this is a 3-bedroom
Bungalow.
So to build something like this from start to finish, from the land to everything, like how much will this cost?
5 million to 5.5 million. Wow. Considering the standard that we're given. We have other packages that are way less, but the area where we are here, this is Sucre traffic lights, and you could see it's just 2 compounds from the main highway. So areas like this, a plot would cost you 1.5 million, nothing less.
But then, the way it is going, do you think most of us will be able to afford land here in the Gambia or to even afford to build something like this?
The sad reality is it's already not very practical or almost impossible for
Salary earner in Gambia.
salary earner in the Gambia to buy a built house, even with the help of a mortgage.
But why is that?
The prices of material, building material, land, labor is skyrocketing. The only thing that is not moving is the income of people. Like the salaries of people are not moving. So it's a big question, but I think it's a national crisis. The government needs to work with the private sector together with the international bodies to really address this, because you cannot talk about affordable to the point of serving Gambian salary earners. It's not just practical. So most of our clients, quite honestly, would be Gambians or non-Gambians, but residing in the diaspora.
Like I've interviewed, for now I think I've interviewed like 4 construction guys, but all of them, what they'll say is their client based at Gambians in the diaspora or non-Gambians, basically people in the diaspora.
Exactly.
So that means the Gambians in the Gambia, we are not building.
You have exceptions here and there who would be able to build houses, buy houses from you. But normally, it's people in the diaspora.
It's not looking good there.
No, it's not really. It's not. It's a sad reality. It's a sad reality, but this is the fact. I believe the root cause for most of our young entrepreneurs failing at their early stages had to do with the absence of a well-defined corporate goal. most of these businesses would cease to exist or at least underperform after a while because their main focus is to make money for themselves as opposed to addressing the needs of a society. An entrepreneur or a good entrepreneur looks at the problem within a society and works on addressing this problem. Now, in solving this problem, money then becomes a byproduct. Gambia has a housing deficit of over 128,000 units, in addition to the over 160,000 Gambians residing in the diaspora. Who would want to have their second or retirement home here in the Gambia? The biggest estate built by a developer is just 5,000 houses. That tells you we have a lot of housing problem in the Gambia. What is 140,000 units compared to 5,000 units? So instead of coming into the industry just to enrich yourself, you can come into the industry as a problem solver. Then you would not only be successful, but you would stay in the industry for a long enough time. What would have happened if Mustafa Njai of TAF had just started his business just to make some money for himself and his family? Most likely, his business would have ceased to exist by now. Or, after having doing the TAF Presidential Villa project, or at least the Reef TAF project in Port Harcourt, he would have stopped because then he had enough money and he would have lost focus. But look at this. Contributing 1 million affordable houses towards Africa's housing deficit is certainly one that is not going to allow him to rest. So you need to have the right goals to be successful in the long run. When money becomes so much of your priority, you can have a good start. But what happens if you start earning some money is you start losing focus. And it becomes very difficult to be consistent with your standard of products and services. And consistency is key in business because you would take whatever offer is given to you, irrespective of whether it matches your standard or not. And the other thing is credibility, and that is a major crisis that we're facing currently in the country. Because most of the businessmen operating in the country we're here for money and not to solve any problem, whatever. So we can easily be enticed into unethical or even illegal transactions just because they pay off well. So I think getting your goals right is one of the key determining factors that would decide whether you would eventually be successful or not. Once you've had it right in setting up your goal, you need to want to, because there are many other people who want to achieve the same goal, but you must want to achieve that goal better than any other person. Your desire to achieving that goal should be one that is out of this world.